Hey everybody, David here, with my back to the map. The map. Dun dun dun. um, last episode was an exercise in frustration. So this time I'm going to try just two relatively small projects for the Time Speaker Universe build for in prep for filming for The Rise of Hawk. Now, we have two locations. This here is the original Rebel Cell building that's just been, I've just done the interior for two separate areas of the building. And I didn't manage to get to do Talon and Asha's family home before they were taken by the agency. Now, I decided that their home would probably be sort of in this area, because everything east of the museum is somewhat more well-to-do. Sort of northeast this way are where all the rich and not imprisoned or murdered or whatever by the agency people are. And sort of southwest is where a lot of rebels are. I mean, there are rebels in other areas, and there are you know, what's called norms, the non-psi, the people that the agency won't take or kill in this area. So they overlap, but it's in general the richer people are over there and the poorer people are over here. So I wanted to put Talon's family in this area because that's the beginning of an area where there are houses and suburbs and stuff. Not terribly rich. The terribly rich is way north, but here they're relatively well off in a relatively comfortable, relatively safe area. And I'll do probably the school at some point. That'll probably be sort of hairish. It's far away from the tower and the this is the Ace of Spades casino as they can be. So I thought I'd do Asha and Talon's family home here-ish, and it'll be relatively easy. It'll be a one-story build. When I say easy, I mean I'm expecting it not to be hard because it's a small build, but I won't be surprised if it is hard because it's a small build. Usually I do big builds, or a bunch of little builds that stick together and become a big build together. But I'm thinking we'll do Asha and Talon's family home here for the first half of the episode. In the second half, at the beginning of Rise of Hawk, some folks leave the original Rebel building, and in the story it just says 3 blocks into South Docks. Now, South Docks is pretty much sort of all of the south part of this. So you go south of this and west. All of this area here is South Docks. This is just on the edge of South Docks. Now, so I don't have to make lots and lots of streets and stuff in this area, because this area is all blank, or it's filled with water and it takes forever to fill those spaces. I'm going to go sort of 3 blocks this way. This is Talon's first Rebel Cell, which actually is on the list to upgrade. Rebel Cell building. But if I make it like here, some folks leave the original Rebel building. The book says 3 blocks, so 1, 2, 3. So it's either in this block, this block, this block, or this block, depending on how you measure how many blocks things are. It's either 3 blocks and then in the 4th, or 3 blocks in the 3rd. But I don't want to go down because, as I said, it'll take too much time. It'll take maybe a whole day just to clear out the water and add grass and stuff, unless I want to try the copy paste the clone function again. But if I make the entrance, I guess, out of sight, like make the building in this area, in this here or here, and make it so you can't really see this building, I can make the insides of the building that Hilla and Asha, they walked 3 blocks from the Rebel building to meet Hawk, and I can make that building's easy as heck. It's basically a frame with a erect insides, and I can do that. Hopefully that shouldn't be too hard. So that's 2 builds. If I have time this week, if I have the energy and the body, I'll try and do some sort of shells around these buildings, because as you can see, Talon's building is in the middle of nowhere with nothing but roads. But most of those roads probably haven't been converted to black concrete yet, so they're all coal, and that takes time to burn them down and then replace them and blah 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 blah. So that's the minimum goal today for this episode, is to create Talon and Asha's family home, which I've got a basic outline for, and to do the building where Hilla Norman meets Hawk, the beginning of Rise of Hawk. And then, if I have time, some buildings around here. But I'll have to do some research to get some sort of warehousey looking buildings to put around it, because South Docks is the main industrial zone. Well, one of the main, because the southwest of the city is abandoned, or is filled with homeless people, or with buildings that are falling apart, or whatever. Here, sort of to the east of the Rebel building, more industrial areas. So there's buildings that are actually used and stuff like that. So south is generally the main industrial area for Aram, and the water starts down here somewhere as well. I was trying to make a cursory measurement, but I think I did it wrong. It's probably here-ish. Supposed to be about 5 blocks south of the Rebel building, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, there's noise in the background, I don't know if you can hear it. I'm going to deal with that now. So, for the building, wish me luck, and cue the music. welcome back. You might be asking, what the heck am I doing? Well, just move me around. In Rise of Hawk, there's a flashback scene where one of the characters is remembering a really traumatic thing that happened when he was trapped underneath a table in his family house. And so I set up this. It looks a bit ridiculous when you come out of it. I mean, it looks ridiculous when you're in it. But I made it for the filming, because from this perspective, it's like he's under the table and the tablecloth is coming down and obscuring his view. It's the nearest I've got to a tablecloth in Minecraft. I'll just... Look, in order to do this, I had to put wood and vines, and underneath it is what is pretending to be a kitchen table. Now, I spent way too long, and I haven't, on this project, I haven't actually done a lot of interiors, so I think, even if it's a little bit sparse, I think maybe it needs a poster there, or only when I finished this did I think, they don't have a TV, they don't have a computer, do I care? Probably not. Taylor and Ash's parents, they were called Seda and Rena Kaan, were very education is the best thing in the entire world kind of people. So highly educated, particularly Rena. I think she had a doctorate or something. But give me a little tour. You won't see any more than that view in the actual filming, or actually probably only this view. Lots of horrible noises, and then a face will come out and help. Oh, oops. I'll have to fix that. I can't get into it again because the trapdoor's down. Quick tour. I saw this on a Hermitcraft episode. I think it was XP. And I thought this is so cool, using banners to pretend to be pillows. I didn't know they could overlap like that, so it's so cool. Had to try it out. I made the colouring like bright, because I thought this could be, I don't know about you, but when I was young, in the 80s and 90s, kitchen floors were always made out of that like but ugly coloured lino, or linoleum, or whatever it is you call it in the US. So I thought they could have a bit ugly kitchen floor. And then I was trying to find mats or carpet that would match it, and I think it just clashes once, but it doesn't matter. And in order to make the outside a different colour to the inside, you have to have like 2 meters wide walls. And I thought, meh, I'll pick a bright colour like purple. For the outside, and it contrasts quite nicely with the calcite. I think so. I mean, if I could own my own home, my home would be extremely colourful. Every door frame would be a different colour. I modelled it on an old house that either I used to live in for a short time or a family member, but where you come out of the kitchen into like the laundry, and then the bathroom is here. They don't see this is a bath. I won't be showing any more of the house in the filming, but I've put quite a lot of effort into the content. I also added a roof space. There's nothing here, but it's quite a lot of space, so why not have it? Have an access. I might use it as an agency facility, or a rebel house or something. And this is Ash's room. She likes martial arts, And if she hadn't grown up half in the agency, she probably would have been a goth. She's definitely a let's wear combat boots and kick people's ass kind of person. She also would have been into music, and that's the nearest to a stereo I could think of. And while I was making it, I was thinking, this is what, like, in Minecraft version anyway, this is what, like, a 90s kid would have. I have no idea what a current 2020s kid would have. This is Talon's room. He also has a stereo. I wasn't really sure what kind of things he'd be interested in. He'd definitely be interested in reading and education. Green just feels like his colour, so I made that as a sort of peripheral thing, with the green bed and stuff. I actually don't know what this is of, but it was kind of like this, the bright pink cake thing, or the skull, and I thought, wow, I don't know what it is, but it's not a bright pink cake or a skull. I think she'd be a very allergic to pink kind of kid if she lived in our world. She'd probably be the don't you dare give me pink things or I'll punch you in the face kind of kid, actually. And Kaan adult parents' room. Rena Kaan is quite a very particular symbol, a particular personality in my head. She's very purple. Seda is very much a yes ma'am, no ma'am, three baths, full ma'am kind of person. Whatever you say, mum. Whatever you say, wife. Kind of not like pushover, just easy. Just let's just go with the flow kind of person. So Rena was definitely the person with the pants in the family, if you excuse the slightly sexist phrase. I've often thought it would be nice to possibly write a short story of Talon telling his sister that he found their old family home and it had just been locked up by the agency, and they break into it, and like I could do a sequence with them, like finding their parents, one of their parents or both of their parents' journals, or just adding a little bit of extra history or backstory or something. So I put Quillen book in here just as a possible potential Easter egg. This is the office. It would have been Rena's office. In the original backstory that I wrote in Jonah's notebook, Rena was a teacher and Seda was a cop. I'm going to have to change those because that was back when I thought cops, there were some good cops. And while New Zealand has better cops than the US, I've always wanted the main target audience of Time Speaker Universe, at least marketing wise, to be America. So it's really probably not good to have a good guy to be a cop, if only just to avoid difficult issues. But Rena will either be continue being a teacher, or like a lecturer, or a doctorate type person. Very, very smart, managerial type person. So that's the smallest build I've ever done, except maybe a garden shed, which is hard. There's lots of hints. This symbol, the quatrefoil, which I used the star as well as a symbol of. The quatrefoil is actually the family crest of the Kaan family, and that's Easter egg, that's not a word, an Easter egg for later information in the series. They even have a little box. I saw that on something. I've been watching a lot of Minecraft multiplayer games. It was on something and they used a barrel like that as a letterbox. Might be Empires, I can't remember, and I thought it was really cute. I like the outside. I put these thingies, the sticky outy windows, because the ceiling, the roof was just looking so samey and pointy. I also made it so it's not like totally straight up triangle roof. It's I gave it a little bit of an extra curve. And after when I was editing the montage, I noticed that the roof was really quite dull because it was all this stuff. And added other kinds of deep slate in to just add some extra texture, which I quite like. I'm not sure if it's enough. I think there are areas that need more, but that's okay. I also did a small custom tree. I don't know what kind of tree it is, but I thought sort of I set my character here. Oops. And imagined, like, because I've got a few short stories and bits for their history, particularly between Talon and Nama, who met when they were very young. And Talon and Nama would run circles around the backyard, but like Talon is quite a bit younger. I think Nama was like 8 or 9, and Talon was 4 or 5. And they would run circles around a really narrow, boxed-in yard, and Talon wouldn't know how to stop, so he'd bash into walls and fall over on his face or on his ass, and Nama would have to dive bomb and try and stop him from hurting himself. And I just imagined there was just a single tree, like almost climbable. If you know, as a kid, there were all these trees that were almost climbable if I was just a little bit taller. So I made one of those. Also made a back gate, because part of the flashback is that Krenna Ree came to rescue Talon, and they went out the back door while the cops were coming in the front. I'll just fix this because it's annoying. Must fix. I'm not a control freak. Oops. Alright, nearly there. So, originally I thought, because in Rise of Hawk, the only area, the only clues to where this building is going to be is 3 blocks from the Rebel base. And this block here, just land, right, and this block here, which surrounds Talon's first Rebel cell, is, well, empty, and in 3 blocks away. And I spent a whole day doing the replacing the roads, and this will be single lane all the way up eventually. And when I say replace, I mean set on fire. See out here, they're still burning. The original roads were made out of coal block, because when I first started plotting out where all the roads would go, the only black block was coal. So I've been steadily replacing them with concrete, and I spent all day fixing all of the roads to try and do the second build, and then I remembered that Rise of Hawk isn't actually the only mention of this building in my books. And I'll just fly back over here somewhere. Here it is. In Jenna's notebook, which is a story that's ridiculously huge, and I have no way of figuring out how to publish it. It's basically the story about 4 generations of rebels, from the first time when the agency came to be up until the present time at the beginning of the current series. But because it's like cursed with prequel vibes, if you know what I mean. It's not a pure story in and of itself. It's backstory put into a book. And I haven't figured out how to publish it. I'm going here because the scale is way too big. So this is Talon's first rebel cell building, and obviously I haven't fixed the map yet. Still burning the roads. So see that there's the rebel building. So it's 1, 2, 3, and I was going to just do this entire area and put it in here somewhere. Sort of there-ish. Oops. I will fix that later. But in Jenna's notebook, it's kind of it was an Easter egg that I was not going to tell anyone about, but I kind of have to explain what I'm doing. So in Jenna's notebook, there's a sequence of combat where they're directly attacking the agency. The rebels are directly attacking the agency. There's a rebel cell here-ish, or here-ish. So it's only a few blocks away from the tower. And the leader of the rebels, Jenna Ree, who is Nama Ree's grandfather, wanted to make it safe, make it so that the agency wouldn't follow them back home, because they're there. So he found a building, an abandoned building, as a fallback position. So when he attacked this facility, which will be here-ish, or possibly in this block here that's been mostly done. So he wanted a fallback position. And so that they'd go back to the fallback position, and any agents that followed them would think that that's where they lived. And it had to be about halfway between the original cell building, their factory building there, and the facility, which we'll say for now is in this lot. It's not over there. You see the problem? See why I use the map to show it to you? Because it's too big. So I'm going to put the new building here-ish, near this double lane. It's one of the double lanes that are going to stay. Most of the double lanes are going to get turned into singles, but this one here-ish is about halfway between the two, and it's 1, 2, 3. So it's about the right distance. And they'll basically be walking this way along this bottom line. The rest, technically, South Docks is this area here, but there's nothing there, and I'm not going to do like 3 blocks of facades for one building in a direction I'm not going to use for a while. So I'll do it this way, because technically South Docks is this building here, these two buildings, one of which is the rebel building, one of which is a completely burnt out factory building. They're related, but you know, there down is South Docks. So we can put South Docks a little bit east as well, and that'll give me more space to do this building. I have there's another sequence in book 3, Banshee Haven. I shall call it what they call it, but I won't necessarily explain it. It's called the Heath Trap mission. And I think I can put that building in a block that fulfills their needs for that scene. So I'm thinking in the long term, if I can get these animations working for the audiobook for Rise of Hawk, I'll keep doing it for each book as it comes along. So let's see what we can do. I found some ideas, some prompts, some concepts that I can use to build the facility, and then it'll be less facade all around that building. It'll actually be actual buildings. So we'll see what happens. For now, we shall go back to montage mode. So and we use the words wah. Wish me luck, and cue the music. And welcome back. The inside of this I quite like. It fits how I imagine the scene going. I probably need to do a little bit more, like rough up the floor and stuff like that. Maybe change some of these bricks into moss bricks or something similar. Maybe like a couple of stair blocks with water in it and that sort of thing. to make it a little bit more rough, because it's meant to have been abandoned for like 60 years. The only inaccuracy is that the roof doesn't have windows in it in the game, in the book, but there's a thing with this with these shaders. You get the right angle with the sunlight through glass, and it does that cool like lines of sunlight thing that's actually described in the book. So I'm going to try and figure out what the right angle is and what time of the day it is to get that right. So for filming, I may end up having to actually get another kind of shader, because the the one that I've got, it's pretty. I like it, but it doesn't really do inside as well as it does outside. So I might have to find a different shader for just the inside stuff. As I do, I got into a day of boredom and must make things perfect. Actually, I really just always do that. And I actually added new things in addition to what's in the montage. This building looked wrong. I didn't like how it looked. It looked like the scale was wrong, or there wasn't enough detail. Something wasn't quite right. So I've been fiddling with it and adding, wall blocks to add an extra sort of shape to it. And I saw I think it was Gemini Tay did a video. Someone did a video, and they did these amazing shapes just out of stair blocks. So I had to go with just playing with angles and shapes with stair blocks, and I quite like how that looks. It's kind of embarrassing that this looks like fancy, I guess, and this looks dumpy, and I don't actually like it. It also is the same shape as my old school hall from my high school, so I don't like the shape anyway. But the reason why I actually did this building, despite the fact that it looks kind of better than that one, is because in Rise of Hawk, Usher and Hilla, they come from the rebel building, which, there it goes, it loads in, all the way up this road, and they can't get in through the front door because it's boarded up, and when I film that'll probably be an iron door, and they went down an alley, and you can't really have an alley without a contrasting building. I might change the outsides of this a bit more and make it less sort of modern shaped. I thought having the circle, the dome, would make it look older, but it sort of has a more modern vibe. But yeah, I added bits and pieces, and I textured all the bits of building you couldn't see from the inside, because I started by doing the inside and then I did the outside. I textured the roof. I'm not sure that pulled off very well, but black is hard to texture with because all of the black blocks are different kind of black. So that's okay. It's an exercise in imperfection anyway, given the nature of Minecraft. There is also, I wanted to add more story. So there's a sequence in Bunchy Haven, which is book 3, that I will definitely be keeping, where basically the rebels are laying a trap for the agency. A sort of trap. No one's going to get murdered, but they control the agency so that they come in this way after the rebels, thinking that this is how to get to the rebels. and there's a building that goes the whole way to the end, and then another building that crosses here. So this is all walkway, driveway. So the agency comes up this behind the scenes road, and they're trying to get to the rebels like in a building here, and they can't. The only way to get them is to go this way and go around, because the only accessible entrance is on that road on the far end. So it's a very fiddly sort of combat, or almost combat sequence. So I'm thinking, because I'm always thinking ahead, that if I make this block to be that sequence and then modify it so it complies to what I've already written, that'll fill up this entire block. For the filming for Rise of Hawk, I only need to do the facade along this road, even just this block, so it won't be finished. I'm not going to finish it anytime soon, but I might plot it out and have a go behind the scenes. The next episode will probably be either doing the facades or another project. I've had such a tough winter. I'm trying to just do like bliss projects, if you understand the reference. I just want to do what makes me happy for a little while. So I'm gonna avoid doing roads, because doing roads is really dull. So we'll find out next week what is going to be my next project. But for the moment, this one was kind of fun, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. So, until next time, ara ni tasa.